A white rose in July or January. Well, Ruthie, you probably know every Nancy Drew book by heart, Joy says to me, laughing. When she laughs, it makes her dangling earrings jingle, and she looks so beautiful it makes me happy. It is our last day of classes before the holiday break, and we linger over our English muffins. I brought some new books for you, Joy says. Here's a book of poems by a woman who never left her house. Her name was Emily Dickinson. She kept her poems hidden under her bed, afraid they weren't good enough. Don't worry if you can't understand all of them. Enjoy the music of her words. Okay, I'll try. Joy goes on excitedly. And since you know Spanish, I'd like you to read these poems by José Martí. He was the great independence leader of Cuba. Joy, I know about José Martí. In school in Cuba, we had to memorize his poem about the white rose. I still remember how it starts. Cultivo una rosa blanca en julio como enero para el amigo sincero. Very good, Ruthie, Joy says. How would you say that in English? I have a white rose to tend in July or January. I give it to my true friend, I tell Joy. I forgot the rest of the words in Spanish, but I remember he talks about a cruel friend who breaks his heart and how he will give that friend a white rose too. Wow, that is just so amazing, Joy replies, and her earrings jingle again. I wish I could be as good and forgiving as José Martí wants us to be. We just need to keep trying, Ruthie. That's all we can do. And you know something? You are an amazing translator. I used to translate for my mother when we did the grocery shopping. Now I can't anymore. How about if you read the English translations of these poems by José Martí, and then you can tell me if you think they capture the spirit of the original Spanish. It's a bilingual edition. Spanish on one side and English on the other. Isn't that nice? And here's a Spanish-English dictionary, in case you need it. Thanks, Joy. That will be fun homework. They put me in the dumb class because I couldn't speak English, but now I can speak both English and Spanish. You are very fortunate to know 2 languages. Not everybody has that gift. She smiles and enthusiastically pulls another book from her bag. And I think you will love Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and see a lot of yourself in Alice and a lot of Alice in you. In a way, you 2 are on a journey into a mysterious wonderland, even though you haven't left your bed. I'll read them all. Thank you so much, Joy. It is my pleasure, Joy says. You're doing so well with all your reading. I bet you're at least at a 10th grade level. I'm impressed by all the progress you've made. You haven't wasted any time while you've been bedridden. Then she places all the books next to me very carefully, like they are precious rubies she is entrusting to me. Now books keep me company, the way my Cuban rag doll once did. I love that Joy is helping me to become so smart. Joy, I'm going to miss you during break. And I'll miss you too, Ruthie. Before we end class today, what do you say we see what news there is in New York Times? Okay, but isn't the newspaper too hard for kids to understand? I think you can handle it. I've brought today's paper and one I saved for us to look at. But first, let me show you how to hold the newspaper. It can be a little hard to manage. It's hard to manage when you're sitting. I'm sure it will be a breeze if you're flat on your back, I say. Oh, Ruthie, you have such a wry sense of humor. She stretches out the newspaper lengthwise and folds it in thirds. See what I did? If you fold it like this, you can follow a story that starts on the front page and finishes on an inside page. Would you like to try? Sure. I'm a little clumsy at first, but after a while, I get the swing of it, though I end up with newsprint all over my fingers as we read some stories. Then she passes me the saved newspaper from August 6, 1966, and tells me, "There's an article about Dr. Martin Luther King I think you should read. Do you know what he's fighting for?" "Yes, I do. He thinks white people and black people should be equal and able to live in the same neighborhoods and go to the same schools." And I agree with him, Ruthie. Joy lowers her voice as if she's scared to talk out loud, even though the only people in the house besides her are Mommy and me. Why are you whispering, Joy? Because a lot of white people don't feel the way I do, and I'm not supposed to share my personal opinions with my students. I could get in trouble. I read about Dr. King going to Chicago to protest segregated neighborhoods and being attacked by a mob of angry white people who threw rocks at him. Some of the people were wearing Nazi-style helmets. I know this is a free country, but is that okay? So many ideas are whirling through my head that I feel a little dizzy. I think about how terrible it is to hate so much. I know, because I used to hate the boys who caused the car accident. When I stopped hating them, it was like I stepped out from under a dark cloud and saw the sunshine again. My grandmother had to leave Poland because people there hated her since she was Jewish, I tell Joy. And a lot of people here hate Mommy, and treat her like she is stupid because she doesn't speak English. How can people be so mean? I don't know the answer, Joy says. I wish I did, but I'm grateful for the many good people there are too, like Dr. King, who is trying to teach us to be tolerant and accepting of each other, so we can all live together in harmony. Or like Jose Marti, who'd give a white rose to his friend and his enemy. Right on, Ruthie, right on, Joy replies. Then she, who has such a happy name, speaks to me in a despairing voice. But Ruthie, I have to admit, the world can be a frightening place sometimes. And suddenly, the teacher I thought was invincible looks as if she wants somebody to say, there, to her, just like I often need someone to say it to me.